Hello everyone, welcome back. Nigel's Modelling Bench here, and this is part 4 of the Italeri Lancia Stratos HF Group 4 Monte Carlo 1977 car. So here we are now with part 4 of working with the body, and you may be thinking to yourself, hang on, you're working on the chassis. Yeah, I'm working on the chassis to give myself a jig in which to construct the body. So that's the way I think this car should be built. Build up the chassis, get it all nice and square, make the body fit, and then you can go on and paint your body and everything, because as we all know, with model cars, generally you paint the body first. Whereas with this one, because it's got so many parts and so many different, areas where you could mess up, you want the body to fit perfectly. So here we have we've built it. If you remember in part 3, I thought it was going to be like a half-hour video and I'd have the chassis done, but clearly it's not that way because the kit is not very user-friendly, shall we say. But basically, once you've got it there, the fit of everything is absolutely gorgeous. It really is really, really nice. This front clip I've got fitted, I'm actually going to take this out when I think of it, for fear that I don't want to glue this in yet. So as you can see, it doesn't want to come out. But for fear, I don't want to get any glue to get into there, because I don't want to glue this front clip in until I'm ready to fit this front end. But basically, if you haven't seen the first 3 parts of this, go back and have a look. It's very much designed for those that haven't had to deal with these sort of things before. We've had issues with the moulding in the roof, issues with sink marks everywhere here. We've got terrible issues here, terrible issues here with sink marks. And basically pretty much every single part I've got off the sprue has either got sink marks and or ejector pin marks. It's been a nightmare. So yeah, lots and lots of work to get it perfect. Some of you will be lucky and get kits that don't have the issues that I'm having. So there's obviously a thing about quality control at Italeri, because some of you have perfect parts apparently. So right, by the way, this front clip, I have actually, feel you can see white plastic card in here. It was just open C sections like this, and I wanted to close it all in like the rear car was. Absolutely total waste of time, because who's ever going to pick it up and look underneath? And basically, I also want to say this isn't a build. This is not a project for the channel. This is just how to go about getting the body done. But there we go. So if you remember in part 3, I said I was going to actually fit the body to the floor, which I've done. This is the main body center section, and there is a little bit of fore-aft movement in here. If you can hear that, but you certainly can't see it. So I'm pushing the body as forward as it goes on both sides, and then what we can do is just check it for square, and I can basically look. You can look down here and you can see that roof line is square. If I get it level in front of you, you can see that roof line is square with that rear cross member. Okay, so that's good enough. And then obviously now, as I said in part 3, this front end needs to be pulled back and lifted up to line up here. You can see this side here. When we look at this area here, you can see this side is lining up beautifully. Okay, that's lining up there lovely. All right, this side is forward and down, so it needs to come up. So I think what I'm tempted to do is clamp this in position here, okay, and get it glued in. Now, as I say, go back and have a look at part 3, because I have actually, really gone out of the build sequence that Italeri want you to use to get this done. I want to get that out of the way. Yeah, what they would have you do is just build all this up, and then what you would discover at the end of the day is you would find that you're all over the place. So I'm trying to find a way. The videos are drawn out. They may be quite boring for you. Fast forward through them, but if you really want to know how to do one of these, or how I've gone about doing it, then this is a way for you to learn. So I think what I'm going to do here first of all is get this clamped in and pulled back. You can see we've got a bit of a gap there I sanded some material from here and then realised it was actually here I needed some sand material because I wanted this side to come forward slightly to glue that together to get a nice join. Now here you can see we've got a gap. There's a gap here. You can't really see it because we can't see from on top, but there's a gap down the back here where it meets the floor. So so there we go. But I think what I'm going to do is basically pull this down because that is lining up beautifully there. So if I just lightly clamp this down onto the, just very lightly clamp that down just to hold it down, then I can see that, yeah, we have got a step there. Put that a bit tighter perhaps. No, we've got a step. Let me see what's going on here and then I'll be back. Okay, so got it there. What I found was I did still have a step even after it was clamped. So I've actually just got a sharp point of a knife blade and gone in here and just scraped away a small amount of material from there. You see where I'm pointing at? From that area in there. I'll show you what I've done. I've lifted up this section and just got a knife blade in there and just scraped away, only about 3 scrapes. Just scraped away, just a slither of plastic to get this to sit slightly lower down so that we don't get a horrible step in there. I'm absolutely convinced that there comes a point where you're checking everything all the time, but there comes a point where you've got to stop checking and get on and just bloody glue stuff. But I've got that pretty step free now. I'm convinced that should be working out step free, and I'd rather have this a little low than too high, because obviously if it's too high it's going to hold the front end up. So now we've got that clamped in place, I'm going to take a drop of extra thin quick setting and just put it in there. Take another drop, put it in there. There's lots of area here for it to work with, so I'm just going to get some in here, and I'm using the quick setting just literally to tack it in place. I don't think it needs to be pulled back. When it comes to gluing this area here, I will pull the fender back. The inner wing, should I say. I'll pull that back to make sure. Now this side, if you remember, it looks like it's going to poke into the wheel arch. So what we may well do here is make a little cut and just pull it back, or add some heat and just pull it back, just to make sure it doesn't encroach in our wheel arch, because it will look awful if it does. So with the body clamped in place, we have now got a nice flush fit there. We have a lovely fit here. Alright, so that's what we're after. Now it's a shame the way this is. I wish they designed it with a separate roof and you glued it on here and here, because then we could actually glue the body tub on as well, and deal with this joint in here. Not quite sure on the real car how that was. I know that this whole monocoque is all steel. This isn't fiberglass. The rest of the body is. But this area here would have been one piece, so I'm guessing this would have all been painted black. I don't know. I'll have to do some checking on my references. You can see on this side we've got to move up. If we actually just glued it down in, as the instructions say, we would have a step here, okay, and it would be too far forward. It needs to come up and back. It's literally nothing. It's just literally about 0.5 millimetre it needs to come up. So then we'll have it all nice and square. So what we'll do then, we need to check for level across here. Now I can't check it at the moment, obviously, because I've got this clamp in here. But once we got it off, we can check for level across there using our spirit level. I don't think it's going to fit in there. Oh yes, we may be able to just get it in there. But obviously, you know, I'm messing the chassis around. So we may have to put something in there that I know is square, just to check for level on there when we've got this up. So not that it's very important, it's really more important to get these areas in here nice and level, and then we know we'll have it nice and level on the top for the front end to go on. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry and then I will be back. So this side's pretty much just tacked off anyway, so I've taken the clamp off, so that's all good. And I've removed the body so I can do this check. I got my spirit level here. I've got it's nice and level there. Oh, I've put a 10,000, I put a 0.5 piece of plastic card and then it was too much. I've put a 10,000 piece there just to lift it up slightly. So we can see now that that's nice and level there. And that's nice and level there. And obviously this is going to come back slightly. So even if I pull it back, you can see it's not going to affect. The trouble is I'm pulling the floor about because I'm just rocking it from side to side. But if I pull it back, it doesn't affect the level. So there we go. So that's how that's going to be. So we can refit the body. Okay, the center section. I'm just actually watching a video now called Lancia Stratos, a rally legend reawakened patina, and it's of a guy in England that's what is it, 7 years old, the video, and it's very strange actually, because the guy that's restoring the car, I think his name is David. He actually used to work for the Rizzuti brothers down in Street in Somerset, and he built his rally cars for him, which is how I got to know Frank Rizzuti. So yeah, small world, isn't it? Anyway, so that piece of plastic card has fallen out of there, so we're going to put that back in. So that's going to go into that gap. That's not the right piece, it's too short. This is the right piece. Why am I using these tweezers when I've got my brand new God Hand ones that are so much better? I got those from Brooks Models. So there we are. So that's going to go in there like that. Okay, and then we're going to pull that back and then glue it into place. So I don't quite know how I'm going to pull it back into the body. Maybe I can put a clothes peg on there, pull it back like that. I've got a very slight step there, but it's next to nothing, same as that side, and that's pulled back. So that's actually lovely, that's really nice. I think I'm going to put a piece of plastic card in there as well. Now remember, what I've done here is raised the pivot point on the inner end of the wishbone. But for this model that won't matter. As I said before, in real life it would mess up all your roll centres. But for this model, being a static model, it doesn't really matter. Maybe I'm not going to put a piece of plastic card in there, we shall see. But it certainly should have something in there, because that's quite a big gap. You know, though it's only 10 thou, or 0.25 millimeters, it's still quite a large gap to have to fill. And I'm going to try and get in here with something. Basically what I'm going to do is push that plastic card back out so that it's not encroaching on the inside. I need to somehow get in there to push it out. Oh dear. I'll push that out, and then I'm going to get some glue in here and get this glued up, and I'll come back when I'm ready. Okay, so as you can see, plastic card all the way around there to fill in the gap. We've got that clamped in there. I think I'm going to put a clamp and clamp that down. But first of all, I'm going to get some cement into here, let it capillary around, let it do its thing, and then we should be good to go. And obviously pulling it back has left me a little gap here as well, but the reason being is, as I mentioned in part 3, these pieces here, this outer piece here is a separate part, and I've actually glued it on before I fitted it, because I wanted to make sure that the alignment and everything with the wings is all good, with the front fenders, should I say, with the front clamshell. I wanted to make sure all that alignment was good, because I didn't want to go and then discover afterwards that there was a problem. So what I'm going to do here is, once again, I'm going to grab my paintbrush and I'm going to put some cement inside here, just to make sure this inner wing I'm not putting it around the back end of the inner wing, it's only on the front end I'm putting it. I just want to make sure that that inner wing is absolutely solid, glued to the chassis, because that's going to be the main thing that's going to hold it all together. I think I might actually put a piece of this plastic card in the other side as well, where there's a little gap there. Got a gap there. I've cut that slightly too wide. Let's just slice some off the end of it. There we go. Just push that into there, and that'll sit there. Drop of cement just to hold it in. Oopsie daisy. And then oof, cut that off, and there we go. Right, so that's all good, that's all good. I might just give that a gentle clamp down, just so I know nothing's going to move. And there we go, and now we have pretty much a step-free joint there, and pretty much a step-free joint there. Yeah, when I undo that peg, the peg is having the effect of pulling the body up. So yeah, what we're going to have to do is, when it comes to fitting the body, we're going to have to do this and then deal with the repairs with all the body painted and everything, which is going to be a nightmare. As I say, I'd like to be able to build the whole thing and then put all the interior in as you would on the real one, but unfortunately I'm not 12 scale, so I can't get in and do that. I expect some of you wish I was 12 scale. Anyway, there we go. So that's all done, happy with that, and we'll let that dry, and that should be our front end completed. And then we can go in with some black super glue, fill in all the gaps, sand it all out. There we are, maybe we can start looking at the rear. Right, so after a couple of hours we're back, and we've got these seams all filled with super glue and sanded out. I'm going to have to do this bottom edge again when we do this panel in here, and I'm going to have to do this area here when we fit the front clip in, because that's going to go in like that, as you can see, so that's going to have to be sanded out as well. So lots of sanding and bits and pieces to do, so not really too fussed about how this has come out, but I just wanted to clean it up and get it seam free as we go. So that's all around there. There's a seam up there and all down here, and there's lots of seams everywhere. So it's all coming out very, very nicely. Right, but I am putting a lot of work in. There's a lot of time going into this. It is looking lovely, but as I say, there's a lot of time going in. Now, I was looking at this here and I was thinking I may actually have to remove some material from this floor pan. What we're going to do, I'm not going to glue these in yet, but when we actually look later on in the build, they tell us in the instructions to fit the lower side panels here. After all the body is fitted, I want to try and get these in attached to the main body before we actually do any painting, because otherwise we've got this seam here we've got to do. And also when it comes to fitting these rear wheel arches, which is, where is it? You can see you've got the rear wheel arches there fitted onto the rear clamshell, and then you've got another piece going on here. So I want to get that on obviously before it's all painted as well, as I think I've mentioned before. So basically just shattering the build sequence in the instructions and trying to get as much of the body built, well, all of the body built. And as I've said before, this is not building the body. Well, it is in effect because it's a monocoque, so this is actually part of the body shell. But what we're doing here is building a jig to build the body on. Now, what I would be doing now normally is assembling the front end, okay, fitting all the internals, this lower belly and everything, the hinges and all that, and then fitting it onto the front and dealing with the hinges and getting it all nice with this in place. But as I said, as I've said, I think I've repeated it myself in this video even, this came, it's an absolute mess full of sink marks and awful. This front edge here is awful. It's all filled and everything. The back end's awful. The roof's awful. I have contacted Italeri and asked for replacement parts, but obviously it's the holiday season, so not had much of a response at the moment. But we shall see. If they can send me perfectly moulded parts, then I'll be very, very happy. However, I don't think they've probably got perfectly moulded parts. Judging by this kit, every sprue is low quality. So, you know, there we go. So I'm going to move now onto the rear end. Now, as you know, as I mentioned before, I think in part 3, they tell you in the instructions, one of the first steps is to build up this bulkhead, add this frame on the back, and then come along and glue it to your floor pan. But the trouble is there's no way of knowing if it's in the right position. Yes, you have a sort of wedge here where it goes in. You've got this angled piece here. In fact, I've just noticed that's got a bit of flash on it, so I'm just going to remove that. As I say, bad moulding throughout. And then that's going to basically sit in there like so. And we can put our finger up in there and hold it. And that's going to sit on the floor like so, okay? Now, it also needs to be pushed down into the floor nice and flat, so we need to make sure that this area here is nice and straight. So let's just have a quick look. We'll get a steel rule and I'm just looking. Yes, it is. It's nice and straight. Blimey, there's actually something right with it. So yeah, that area there is nice and straight. So we can basically get this rear bulkhead glued in. And what they're telling us to do here, I've got my bag of bits over here, there's not much left in here. This frame here, what they're telling us to do is glue this frame onto here. As I've said before, glue that frame into there. It's got a little bit of slop side to side. And then fit this in here. And then have those tabs. There's tabs on there and there's pins on there. There's tabs here. There's pins here. Fit all that in and then fit the bulkhead in. But there's no guarantee that if we do that, we've got this right in relation to the body. So once again, what I want to do is take the central part of the body, covered in puppy hairs here. So we've just had some playing. So I'm probably covered in hairs. So push those side sills in there, push this all forward, push that forward there, make sure that's all nicely fitted, and then we can slot this bulkhead firewall, whatever you want to call it, put it in behind, and as you can see, you've got some little tabs down there. The bulkhead needs to be in front of those tabs, but you've got this little support here, and this has got to sit in there in the body. Okay, so that's why I want to have the body in place. So what we can actually do here is come along with another couple of bulldog clamps and clamp that to the body there and clamp that one to the body there, and that will hold it in place. Now, as you can see, it's fitting on the floor beautifully. We've got gaps all the way around. You can see in there, there's gaps, and also when you look inside, there's a hole. I don't know if I can get the camera to show you this, but you can see inside there's a hole here. Where are we? You can see there's a big hole there. How can I show you it? There. It's very difficult to show you because of the camera and the roof's in the way and everything. But basically there's a hole, there's gaps all the way around, so I'm going to deal with that. Well, I'm not sure if you're going to see it or not, but I do want to deal with it. Now, this bulkhead is fitted onto a little triangular shaped frame that fits in the back of the tunnel, and I want to make sure that the bulkhead is fitted centrally in the floor. So if we hold it again and take these bulldog clamps off, we should be able to see that we do have some lateral movement, and I want to make sure this bulkhead is central because this is what the rear frame is going to come off of. So what I think I'm going to do is add some plastic card into here to make that a really snug fit and tight on the sides. So I'm going to get some plastic card, glue it into the sides of this tunnel, and see if I can get a really tight fit. Back in a second. Alright, so I've added a couple of pieces of 10 thou plastic trim in there, plastic strip. And now when we fit this in, we get a nice snug fit. So I know that as long as the moulding's good, the tooling's all centered and everything, then we should get a nice centered bulkhead, and we then will have a nice fit all around the top and everything. So that's looking good. So once again, we can come along with our bulldog clips and fit those in there like that. And that will hold all that together. So that is our bulkhead fitted in position and nicely aligned with the floor. Now, I don't care about the position of this rear piece that's going in, because I'm going to have to make it fit. What I care about is having this correct in the body. Now, as you can see, we've got this here is following the door slam. We've also got the actual moulding going all the way up, so you can see in here that it's actually fitting in there really nicely. So with that butted up against there, with that all good, I think what we can do is add some cement and actually glue this bulkhead, firewall, whatever you want to call it, wherever you are in the world. We can cement that in nice and solid, plenty of cement, get a good weld going on in there. Okay, gonna just give it a push. As you can see, we've got a little bit of oozage there, so I'm going to come in with a cotton bud and just quickly, I'm not going to rub it, I'm just going to tap it, and that'll soak up some of that oozage, and if we have to, we'll clean up afterwards. But there we go. So that's that in there, and it's flat across the back of the floor. So we will come in with our paintbrush once again. Grab our paintbrush, and we will run our paintbrush across the floor like so, so that this rear bulkhead is glued in nicely, just like that. There we are, and that will be in there nice and solid. And I'm going to leave that, because it's almost bedtime, I'm going to leave that overnight to dry. Every time I do that, people ask about cleaning the brush. You don't need to clean the brush. Basically, the Tamiya Extra Thin is like a very high-powered tool cleaner. So there you go. In fact, if you buy Tamiya airbrush cleaner, it basically is Tamiya Extra Thin, pretty much. So that's that rear bulkhead glued in. It's clamped. Whoops! It was clamped correctly to the body. Clamp it properly again. All right. So get that clamped in there. Let that go off, and then we can deal with these gaps around the sides. And I also want to put something, you can see it from here, from underneath, there's a big hole in there. So when you look inside the car, you can see this great big hole. So I'm going to see if I can make something to patch that up, so we don't have that big hole. But also we've got gaps down the sides. I don't know if you can see them. Where are we? Yeah, there you go. You can see the gap there. As the camera's focusing on what's in front of it, not what I'm trying to show. There you go. You see the gap there now between the sill and the bulkhead. So we'll deal with that as well, because there's no way that would have been there in reality. There we are. Right. Very happy with how that's gone. And I think I can also see gaps around here. I may see if I can do something to fill those out. We shall see. We shall see indeed. But we need to make sure that the body remains central, because as you can see, we've got movement there. So make sure we keep the body square and true. So there we are. Right. Let's leave that to dry overnight. I'll see you tomorrow. Next day, we're back. Everything's all nice and dry, all nice and set, solid. The frog in the throat is back. And here we go. I've done this trim round here, so 0.5 plastic card strips cut to length and popped in there, and then there's just like a 6mm square on the outside to block in those holes. So now when we put the body on like so, we don't have, the camera angle is difficult, we don't have those holes down in there where you could just see daylight through. I know that when you put these sill panels on, it will block off the light coming up through there, but I just wanted to block them off just to make them look a bit nicer. So so that's that. Right, so bulkhead's in. As you can see, it's quite flexible, but it's all glued solid at the bottom, and we know that it's fitted nice with the body, and it's nice and parallel across the roof line there, which is the main thing. Get it nice and parallel across here. So there we go. So that's all good. Right, so let's fit this rear cross member thingy. So we've got 2 tabs on here that go into square slots in here. I've thinned these down because they were a very tight fit, and we've got 2 pins on there that go into 2 holes. So I'm basically going to slot those 2 tabs into there, like so. And then up like that. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to put a clamp on here. In fact, I'm going to use clothes pegs because they're soft rubber, they won't mark anything. And then get another one for this side. Okay, and we'll clamp that on there. And we can see on here that this has a little bit of movement in it. I just want to make sure you can see here it's not parallel. It needs to come up on this end or go down on this end. So there we are. We can see that straight away, if we just glued this on, it would be pushing this bulkhead around. So what I'm going to do is make sure that pin's gone down in there, make sure that's gone down in there. And there we are. So that's parallel there now. Okay, it's a shame actually because I want to clamp this in place but also fit the body, and I can't do both. So I think what we're going to have to do is put the body on, drop the body on, put our clamps across the bottom. Here's the dustbin coming. Fair play to them, back to work today. Lots of people not going back till Monday. Okay, so if I have that clamped in place like that, I can look at the top here, and I want to see that it's parallel along that roof line, and that's what I want to see, and it is. So if I hold that like that, parallel, it stays parallel at the top. That's good. Okay, now can I clamp that around that body? No, I can't. Let me have a little look at what I've got a minute. Alright, I've got a couple of G-clamps, but because it's like a wedge, I can't clamp it. The clamps just keep sliding up. So basically I think what I'm going to have to do is just hold it like that, and I can see that it's good. So if I hold it like that and take the body off, without moving anything, oh, it's moved. As long as I know it's parallel across the bottom of that window and it's centered, so we've got equal step either side. Just going to put a drop of extra thin in here. Get my rubber pegs, just hold that in place. I'm just going to literally glue those ends, let that just go off, and then I'm going to try it in the body again and check that nothing's moved, because the last thing you want is for that bulkhead to be twisted like that. That'll look awful, and it'll also mess up all the rear end. See you in a sec. Alright, so after a few minutes, remove the pegs, fitted the body, checked it all out. It's all nice and parallel. That's the thing we're looking for, is parallel across there. So all well and good. I've gone in and put some glue all the way along this. I haven't glued these bottom here because what we may end up doing is flexing this to get the rear end square. So we shall see. I'm not going to glue those yet. I'll glue those after. We don't need to panic and go in and start throwing glue everywhere. Same as we haven't put this front clip in yet. We don't need to do that. But so there we go. So that's now glued. We'll let that go off, and then we can start on this rear fabricated chassis, which is this here, and get that fitted. So and that will be the basis done. And then we're going to wait and see what Italeri say, or we'll just carry on and glue all the panels onto our body and use this body, whatever they say. But to be honest, with this one and the Delta and the Fiat 500 I can't see, I don't think they're capable of making a really good body, are they? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be so harsh. But just watching Prime Model Works, and he's just started the Italeri 1/32 scale Starfighter, and he's having problems with that because of moulding and stuff. So there we go. Right, so as I say, we're going to let that dry, and then we're going to start on this box section at the back. The other thing I'm going to be doing is, as you can see here, maybe it'd be better shown from the inside. I don't know if you can see it up in there, if the camera will focus. There's a huge gap all the way around. Where are we? There's a huge gap. This is ridiculous. There's a huge gap all the way around here. Like I said, get the end of that in there. There's a gap all across the top. When it comes to the top, we need to get the window. This is the clear part. I'm actually going to remake this out of, I've got some clear styrene sheet. I'm going to remake this window because A, it's really thick and it sticks out, and B, it's not a very nice moulding. I know that's a surprise to you. But what you will see is when you fit this window, it actually pushes the top. Without that, the top is fairly flat, but with the window in there, it really does push it up into the roof. So we'll have a smaller gap to fill. So I'm going to see if I can just get some plastic strip, build it up on the outside, and just close up that gap. Just because I want to really, just want to make it look nice. Okay, so there we go. Right. Oh, and by the way, you can see I've got masking tape on here to protect this window should I decide to use it. But I don't think I will, because it, as I say, when you fit it in there, it sticks out. It sticks out by a mile, and also, as I said, the moulding is all like it's almost like sink marks all the way around the edge. It's not very nice. So there we go. Right. Let that dry. Back in a minute. Alright, so here we are then. As I said, I haven't glued these bottom ends, but this is all glued on and dry now. And I've got the body on, clamped in place. Just clamped at the sills. And what we're going to do is, we've got these gaps around here that we talked about. We've got a gap all up there, there's a gap all across the top. Make sure you've got the rear window fitted, as I say, because that closes that gap up. Now on the top here, I've got a piece of 0.5 plastic card, and that's fitting in there really nicely. But as soon as I get to here, where I've got a pencil line drawn, it kind of starts to jam. And what we want to do, we want to get this plastic card glued to this bulkhead, and not have it disturbing the roof at all. I don't want it, like if I go in there, you can see if I go in there, I can wedge it up and it pulls the roof up. I don't want to do that. All right, I just want to not bias the body at all. If we need to pull the body about to get better alignment with the back end or something, then we will. But at the moment, as far as I'm concerned, the actual fit onto the back end is beautiful. So if we want to pull that up, we can, but maybe we will, because it is literally nothing it's pulling it up by. I'm just looking now. If I pull that up over there, can I get a 10th thou in there? Yeah, that's a bit much, I think. So what we'll do, when it's all done, we'll just put a piece of 0.5 plastic strip over the top, and that should do us. Now here in the sides, this is a piece of, this is 0.75, yeah, this is 0.75, and you can see that I can slide this piece in here and it sort of stops at the top, and the same over here, it sort of stops at the top. Now we've got this lip on here which is making it quite difficult. So what I'm going to do is remove the body, and I'm going to take 2 strips of 0.75. I'm going to see if I've got some pre-cut, you know, when you buy it in the strip form, and glue it in there, and then sort of halfway up we'll put a couple of bits of 10 thou, because the gap here widens out. So let me see what I've got, and then I'll come back when I've done it. Okay, we're done. So we've got strip in there, and as you can see, if I take the body off, you can see we've got 20 thou here with the 10 thou strip coming down the outside of it, and I've got 20 thou going all the way across the top. What I'm going to do is just lightly go over these corners with a sander, just to take the edge off, just a couple of thou, because they were quite tight in there. But you can see that when the body's on, it's all clamped down. Now we've got the gaps closed up, and if you look from the inside, well, you can't look on the camera from the inside, but yeah, what we'll do now, we will actually, the piece over the top isn't glued in the middle, so we can get that tape out. What I'm going to do now is take this clear piece out, and then I can get plenty of cement in there, and then let that go solid for a few hours, and then we can trim and sand it. So that's the plan. So we'll get this tape out of here, pull that up there, and then pull this side up as well, and we should be able to just slide that out. Should be an operative word. There we go. And then we've got one last piece here, and then that window comes out. And obviously I don't want to glue it in there with the window in there, because if I get cement on the window it'll ruin it, just in case I choose to use it. So we'll get some cement in there, and then we'll get some cement all the way around, because it needs to be held in nice and solid so that it's fit for sanding and pulling about and trimming and everything. Okay, so there we go. So that's that bit done. Right, and we could also go in from the other side as well, just to make sure. Just come in there, extra thin, in like that. Get it in there. Just like so. And that'll make sure it's all glued in, nice and solid, ready for trimming. Right. So what we're going to do is leave that to dry, and then once that's dry we'll get it all trimmed back, and then what we'll do is get the body on again and start looking at this area here, because there's some big gaps. When you look from the inside, you can see daylight through there, so I don't want to be able to see that. So we'll just get something in. It doesn't need to be as good as this, because you can't really see it from the back. I just want to block off the daylight. So so there we are. That 10 thou strip needs to come this way to make sure it covers that end of that cross member. We'll glue that in place. I think what I'll do is grab another couple of bits of 10 thou. Is this 10 thou? Yes, it is. I think what I'll do is just stick some on the end of here, so that we've got that consistent line going down there. Again, plenty of cement, get it in nice and solid so that it's ready to be trimmed and pulled about. The last thing you want is for it to start falling off as soon as you start sanding it or something. So get that one in there on the end, just like that. Come on, sit in there. Go on. Go on, my son. There we go, in like that. So that way we won't see any steps then when we look in the back. Right, that's going to be left to dry. See you soon. All right, I've just gone on and I was looking at that, and I ended up, all I've done, a couple of pieces of 20 thou strip on those little haunches there, and that's enough to block out the light. So that's brilliant. So you can see the body still fits beautifully. We can just put a bulldog clip on there. We'll put a bulldog clip on there. There we go. And as you can see, we've got no daylight coming through now. It's looking really good. We've got some daylight in the middle of the top because as I say, the window pushes that out. But yeah, we've got to leave that now, let it all set, and then we'll get it trimmed. If you're wondering why I'm doing this now and not getting on with the rear subframe or the rear chassis, it's because I didn't want the chassis in the way when I'm trying, because you can imagine this box comes out here, it's sticking up about this high, and it would be in the way, so I just got that done now. Now this isn't something you need to do. What I'm trying to do is kind of guide you through how I'm going about getting this body right, and this is part of building up the jig, if you like, to get the body right. But what I'm doing here is just my little pet hate of seeing gaps through bodywork, because basically in reality this is a monocoque steel section. This is like, it's all welded together. The roof's steel, all of this is steel. Okay, so and it would all be one section. This panel here, I believe, is aluminium or whatever, I'm not sure. But because when you look at pictures of the strip shells, all you've got is this central piece up here with the holes in it. And then you've got, here you can see there's like carpeting material. So I'm guessing it's probably a sheet of aluminium with some sort of sound deadening on it or something. Or just something to try and keep the crew a bit cooler. But there we go. So, happy with that. The other thing I've noticed, they've got a hole in the roof up here in this corner. So I think we're probably going to get a Safari version, because that's where the antenna was moved to. I was watching a video, and if you are going to do a replica of the 1975 RAC Rally, Bjorn Voldegard was it? And he lost the back end twice. So you could actually build that'd be a great way to show off all the detail on your model. Have it as, you know, halfway through the 1975 RAC Rally here in England, or in the UK, should I say? It's not just England, was it? Yeah, have the back end hanging off and have it all covered and plastered in mud and everything. So go look up some references. It looks like a lot of fun. So anyway, it looks like Italeri are going to be giving us a few more versions of this model. Certainly, because on this one, as you know, we've got the standard rear arches, and then we add the wider rear arches to turn it into a group 4. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to let all that dry, and then I'll probably get it all trimmed, and then I'll come back when it's trimmed and show you how it looks. So hopefully you'll like it, and I think it looks a lot better. Next day again, and we are back. This is now the 3rd day of filming, I think, or even the 4th. So as you can see, I've sanded all that back, sanded it all flush on the face, sanded it all flush, sanded it and scraped and everything. And when I've got some out, I go a bit of Mr. Service will go around just to take care of any little tiny gaps there may be. But as you can see now, with it all done. Oh, the other thing I've done, I've fitted these side pieces that fit down on the body. In the instructions, they tell you to fit the body and everything first, and then what you're going to do, you're going to come along, you're going to fit your body here. Okay, so if you've got the screen and the dashboard and everything in, you've already painted your body, and then you're going to fit these side panels. So then you've got a seam all the way along there, all the way down there, and along there to deal with after you've painted your body. So yeah, don't bother with that. The fit of these isn't particularly good. What I said isn't, it is good. The fit is good, but again, just like most of this, all this front end, there's no location. We have a tab on here where the part goes in. Okay, so you know that's good. And we have a couple of little tabs on the bottom here which are helping, but they're not. They're really there for going in these slots in the floor. There's no. I mean, they could have put like a lip along here, but there's nothing. If I take this tape away, that's the best thing to do. Is take the tape away, and I can show you. Oh, come here, tape. Get off. Right. Take the tape away, I can show you. There is no location whatsoever, so that's just, you know, so that's why they're telling you to fit it now. The other thing I've noticed is you can see here, just here, that there's like a raised lump of plastic that's stopping it going in properly. If you carve that away, it will go in properly, but remember, you have to have a step. So we've now got a gap to deal with all down here. So that's going to be more plastic card. Why they didn't just put a ridge, a little flange around the inside, I do not know, just to give you some location. But yeah, we've got a gap to deal with there. This will all pull in on the bottom okay, but we'll have a gap to deal with here. So yeah, it's again, you know, I was looking last night at Tamiya 1/12 kits, and currently, I mean, I noticed on Amazon this thing is available for about £188 now in the UK, so it's coming down in price already, probably thanks to me. But I noticed you can get like the Tamiya 1/24 240Z for like £115. You know, it's just I know it's a much older kit, but it's going to be a lot better than this. Anyway, if you want a 12 scale Stratos, this is really all you've got, other than the old Dayusha kit, which isn't as nice as this, to be fair. So yeah, there's no, you know, why they didn't put a ridge around here, I don't know. But the only location you've got is that slot in there and that tab on there. So that goes in like that, you know, and you need to make sure that you've got it flush down here, so the rear body fits okay. I mean, this is all going to be covered up with a wheel arch. And I'm looking at these wheel arches, and I don't know about you, perhaps you Stratos fans out there can comment and let me know. But as far as I'm aware, there were two types of Group 4. There was this type, like they're showing here, where the arch is kind of blended in. Alright, it's kind of blended in as part, it's part of the rear body. And then there's the other type, which sort of, where is the rear end? Mr. Unprepared. There's the other type where it sort of has it very much like this, but it comes out further. So it just sort of, it has a sharp change in there. But they seem to have sort of half and half. I think we're going to have to do some serious filling here and blend this in, because I think they're trying to depict what they've got on the front here, but that, I don't think that is their model at all. I think this is a doctored picture again, just like the Delta. But yeah, the type they're depicting, I'm sure, is just going to be all blended in. In fact, this is nothing like. That is absolutely nothing like what they've got. That is completely and utterly different. I don't know. But when we get there, when we've got the hinges done and everything, then we'll fit those rear arches and then we'll see what we've got. But that'll be an interesting video for you all. I'll show you how I do that. And I'd also really like to cut all this out, because I think in reality it wouldn't have all this underneath that big extended arch. I think it would just be a skin and then an inner arch coming out to it. But again, research. But there we go. So yeah, the other thing I wanted to say is I got these on. I got these fitted. Okay, what I should have done was done this before I untaped it. Let me get this tape back together and then I'll come back. Okay, so we're back. What I want to show you, as I was talking here, I want to be able to glue these to the body. This is where I was going. I want to be able to glue these to the body before painting. So what I really want to do is get these glued on, get all these joints dealt with from behind and everything, and just get it all all fitted nicely, and then we can paint. The other thing we need to do, of course, is fit those rear arch extensions, and we really want to do that before painting as well, especially if we're going to be filling and blending. So I wanted to make sure that it's possible to fit the body with all of this in place, and it is. What you can do is just pull the body apart. We can pass it down over the back. You can see I'm just pulling the body apart a bit. I'm not going mad. Pass it down over the back, just like so. Bring the front down, just like so, and there we go. So we haven't really damaged anything. It's not going to scratch anything fitting it, but it's, as you can see, it all goes together absolutely fine, and underneath here it all closes up nicely. So yeah, as I say, it all fits. It fits nicely, but it's just really not for the faint-hearted. The other thing I wanted to show you, of course, is where we've put all this round now. You can see now there's no gaps. If we look at it this way round, we can't see any daylight showing through. It's all sealed off, so that's nice. Okay, there is a slight amount of light coming through there, but maybe when we put it on, we'll put some white glue along the edge of there or something, and it'll just dry clear. So anyway, there we go. So that's that area there done. And as I say, I'm going to take this window out now so that it doesn't get damaged. Although I'm probably, as I say, I'm not going to use it, I don't think, because it's horrible. But there we go. Right, so what's next? We've proved we can fit them, so we will fit them. But I'm not going to fit them yet because, as I've said a million times, if Italeri are going to send me a nice body, then I'll use these on that. I'm not going to waste my time messing around with this if they're going to send me a perfectly moulded body. Well, I don't think I'll be able to wait that long, but we'll wait and see. Today is the 3rd of January. They don't even reopen until Monday, so the earliest I'm going to hear anything is sort of Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, and then it's probably going to take them a week at least to get anything sent out to me. I don't think I'll wait that long. Anyway, we now need to get on with this rear subframe. So let's get some parts out. Alright, we'll try again. I just filmed this already, and the camera decided to zoom itself in. So what you saw was this area here all blurred. So that was a bit stupid. Anyway, so here are the parts. As you can see in the instructions, it's telling us to assemble A, B, C, D. So the top to the back, and then add the sides. So what I'm going to do is get it all together with tape and check it all fits together, and then we'll look at just tacking it up with some extra thin quick setting, and then we'll deal with the seams and everything. I've also got over here the hinges, and as you know, I'm not putting those on yet until we fit the rear body, so they're going to stay off. So as I mentioned before, lots of cleanup on these. Have a good look round. There's flash seam lines, mould ejector pins. There's all sorts going on. There's also some where they've got the mould tooling mismatch. I've had to fill in these areas here where the anti-roll bar goes. I've had to do that on both sides. So have a look at that on your model. So when it comes to adding the top to the back, so this is the back section, this is the top. You can see we've got some location, but it's not very positive, so we have to line it up by eye. I can also see that something is holding that away. There's something on there. It looks like a mould imperfection, so yours may well have it too. Yeah, there is a lump there. Okay, so check that on yours if you're building one of these. So there we are. Frog in the throat again every time the camera goes on. Right, so what we'll do is we'll get a couple of little bits of tape. We'll just tape that together, and we'll tape that on there. As you can see, these brackets on the top here, you can see the surround. Here you've got goes up there, then it goes around there. They're actually bolted on brackets, so we're definitely going to have to fill and blend all that and put a radius on there, just to make it all look authentic. Now on here you can see we got these dots, and these are depicting spot welds, which I think are a little overdone, to be honest, but not to worry. And also down here, when we fit these side pieces in, you will see that we have a nice flange down there, which we should have. There should be a flange down this edge as well, but this flange here should go straight down, so we may well modify that. We'll see. It should go straight down to beat down here. This is a straight box section with a flange, and this is like a C section here, so I'll show it that way, and then this piece here is spot welded in on the edge, and then this here at the bottom is a gusset. Yes, I said gusset. For those of you out there with the same kind of mind as I've got. Okay, so that goes like that, and then we're going to get a bit of tape round the top here, and after the cleanup and everything, it all does fit very, very nicely. But as I say, get your cleanup looked at. All the sink marks, there's all sink marks along here. There's sink marks basically everywhere on every bloody part. So there we go. It can go on like that, and then finally piece of tape around that one. Okay, and then that's just going to sit down in that valley down on there, just like that. It's a really good fit, really positive. And then we've got a couple of pegs going in there, and that's that fitted onto the back of our body. And as you can see, it wants to pull itself up, so we need to find out what's going on there, make sure it's all square and everything. As I say, if it's slightly out, it doesn't really matter. It's like a McPherson struts type suspension, so it's the wishbones that matter. If we get the tops in and out, we may get a little bit of a camber variation, but the sort of variation we're talking about is minimal. But we want to try and get it as nice and square as possible, and we can check all that, and I'll show you how we do that. But so that's going to go like that. So we really need to get another piece of tape down on here and pull this together. Okay, so as you can see here, tape is our friend. Remember, I didn't glue these bits here because we may need to manipulate it all a bit. So what we can do now is grab a sanding stick to put under here to get it leveled, and then we can grab our spirit level, and we can put our spirit level across here, and we can see that we're pretty much just to one side. Put the spirit level across there, we're just to one side. As you can see, the bubble is over to the left. Okay, bubbles over to the left, and on here, bubbles over to the left. So that's good. Just check the front of the floor there. Bubbles pretty much in the middle. There you go, it's a bit over to the left now. Check there, which is very difficult. But yeah, happy with all this, how it's all coming out. We're just trying to make sure everything's square and level. There we go. That's gone together beautifully. Right, so what I'm going to do now is just get this all tacked together. I just want to check all my corners are good, and I want to get it tacked together in situ on the chassis so that it's held in its right sort of position, if you like. But we've got to be careful, because if I pull on there, as you can see, exaggerated, what happens is, see what's happening in there, it's all, as I pull it together, it's all collapsing. So it might be better to tack, it's almost a tack weld then, it might be better to get all this together as a separate entity rather than try and do it with it all attached. So we'll pull that out of there. I've had to thin these pegs down slightly because they were a very tight fit. There's a bit of a theme going on here with things, as you can tell. So I'm just going to go around here and get this tacked together, hold it together with some pegs and everything, make sure we don't get any glue anywhere near any tape, get rid of the puppy hairs, and just get it tacked together. It's absolutely covered in puppy hairs, which means I must be covered in puppy hairs. Right, see you in a sec. And we're back, and again, it's the next day. I think this is 5 days this has got into now. Anyway, so that's that assembled and dry. I've done all the seams with the super glue, and as you can see, I've added some plastic card here to fill that hole in, because that's going to be visible when you look in the engine bay. Here, this hole here, you don't need to worry about, because that's where the battery's going to go. Don't be fooled when you look at some of your references. You will see the battery is located in the front down in here. That's probably a modern regulations thing. You know, the battery has to be away from the engine or whatever. But certainly on the Group 4 cars that I've seen that are genuine, the battery is actually in the back here. Seems a bit crazy to put it there, but hey ho, it's there. So you can see I've added where the white plastic card is. I've added some strip down here because there's a flange all the way along here. You can see I've added some plastic there, okay, and then added some plastic there. The same on this side to give it that flange around the edge. And then also I've added the plastic down here, as I said I was going to do. That's where it's gone straight down instead of the kit has it coming along here. That it should be like this. It should come straight down and have this is just like a folded triangulated section there. So there we go. So that's all good to go. Oh, I've also added some, you can see some tiny bit of plastic card in that corner. That's because where it comes together, this is actually a folded piece of, it's like a support bracket there. And it's got a flange around the outside edge there. And the flange is broken with the seam. So I've just basically come in and filled that in. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put some primer on it so I can have a look. I've also got to primer the floor of the Porsche, the 917 from Poker. I keep calling them Poker as in Fokker. And yes, at the same time I'm going to put some grey primer on here. I'm also going to put some grey primer around here just to check that there's no horrible nasties, because you won't see it when you've got the white and the black plastic. You won't see it if there's a big nasty or something there, but as soon as you put grey primer on it, boom, anything that's there will stick out like a sore thumb, and then it can be pared, sanded out. A lot easier to do it in this state than it is when it's actually fitted in here and trying to get in and sanding everything with it all fitted in, because as you can see when it's in there, you know, if I had to do a repair in this area here, say, it would be a nightmare. So it'll only be a very light coat, just a smattering, just to sort of seam check really. So I'm going to call that a day for this one, and I will see you back for, is this part 4 or 5? I can't remember. I think this is part 4, isn't it? So I'll see you back for 5 or 6 if this is 4 or 5. Oh, another thing is this front is only clipped in. I haven't glued it in or anything. You haven't missed that. I've just literally clipped it in. Okay, so I'll see you back for the next one. Thank you for watching, and as I say, if this is boring you, then just fast forward. But and you know, in case you didn't hear me say at the beginning, this is literally just building up a jig to build the body on. All right, so I'll see you back for the next one. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.